So a few videos ago, I talked about this and how this was pretty cool of a concept used on the Nui Rama, the Rahi sets from 2001. Why was this cool? Well, in summary, it didn't use a solid axle to connect this wing to the body, rather relying on a flexible axle and allowing this weight up here, the portion that is supposed to impact a mask, to knock a mask off with more force and while adding range to the entire system. This was a really clever solution that was so simple a fix that it honestly would have been very easy to overlook. Well, several years ago, I also came up with a concept that was very similar to this. Granted, the function was a lot more complex because it was not done through the use of elastic parts, but rather through some interesting geometry. This build right here, and if you have been a member of my Discord for any amount of time, this may look familiar, although I haven't touched on this design in at least over a year, potentially longer. So what is this? This design was the start of a wasp Rahi, a Rahi with a stinger function that is attached to this lift arm here. And the way that it works is pretty simple. When I push my thumb down on this motion, on this portion here, it is going to pull up on this axle, right? And so thus, the arm, or tail in this case, or stinger, whatever you want to call this, it could just as easily be used as a stinger on a scorpion, right? This will move forward, and so its range goes from this point here to nearly straight from, the thing that it's connected to, except it's actually better. Here's the reason why. This function actually relies on what I call over-center geometry. What does that mean? Well, in a nutshell, essentially, this whole lift arm here is pivoting around this point, as you can see. And what I consider over-center is when this portion of the lift arm here, this lever, if you will, starts to go over the center of this point, right? The function actually wants to start returning. It starts getting pulled in the opposite direction, as you can see here. And so the distance that this can potentially travel is much further, as you can see, right? So how do we facilitate that? Well, this is where things get interesting. If I am to push down on this lever here, you can see I get the full range of motion, but I get nothing more. However, if instead of pulling down on this portion, I roll my thumb over this and release it, it can go well past. And in fact, the faster I release my thumb, the further it can go. I've gotten it to that end point there in several trials, several tests. This is a Rahi I've wanted to revisit for a very long time because obviously the function here is quite large, but it's relatively simple to understand. But what I find so fascinating about it is that although on first glance the geometry of this is simple and it has a good range of motion, the ability to pass over center and actually take advantage of that option means you basically double or near double the range, and of course you add to the force of that movement as well. So it's really effective, and I like it so much. It is a function that I sort of abandoned, not because I didn't want to mess with it, but because at the time I was in this sort of mental space of building smaller things, right? And this is a pretty dedicated build. It's a fairly large build, which implied to me that it was going to be a relatively large Rahi. So I put it on the back burner for a while, kept it on the back burner, would shuffle it away into different drawers and things until eventually I needed a piece off of it and I ended up salvaging it instead. Sometimes I do this, but before I do that, I usually take pictures of it just in case I want to revisit it, and that's exactly what I did here. So I'm glad that I did that. I'm glad that I took those pictures and glad that I thought for a moment about revisiting this Rahi. Not because I'm going to think about it every day as the FOGO, or FOMO, whatever, fear of missing out. Oh, it's gone now, it's in the past, it's lost to the ether, lost to time. But now I have it as a resource over on Discord for me to refer to at any time. And in fact, I slightly modified it even from those images to allow for this lever, this connection here, to actually go further. I extended the range of it slightly. Also modified this so it's a little bit stronger because that acts as a sort of stopper. yada yada, right? On top of that, this little bit here is just a knuckle protector, because this is going to come back with some force, and that would hurt if it like slammed on your finger every time you were using the function, right? So simply put, it's just a little block for your knuckles there. Very easy to hold, very comfortable to hold, and very easy to use that function. And it's just so nice that you get the option of having a short range and also being able to take advantage of the full range of the model, depending on how you use it and where you place your thumb. And it's sort of strategic too, because it's a learning process. It's not something that you're just immediately going to get the best type of result out of, but you kind of have to play with it. You have to get to learn it, get a feel for it, to know exactly where to place your thumb and with how much force to pull back on. Too much, it's not going to go far enough. There's going to be too much friction in the system. Too little, and it's not going to go far enough. So it's fun. It's strategic, and I like that about it. It's just something very fascinating about it that's so simple to understand, because all of the moving parts are right here. Nothing is obscured, nothing obfuscated, whatever. It's just right in front of you, simple to understand, and very easy to mess with in the future if you wanted to, say, make it larger, make it smaller. So I really enjoy making stuff like this. There's another Rahi that I posted over on the Discord as well, so I would encourage you to go take a look at it. I'm going to try and find the video that I took of it, because it is one of my favorite functions that I came up with, and yet I abandoned it again, because I do that sometimes, right? I wasn't a big fan of the aesthetic of the Rahi. It was tan and dark blue, which is a fantastic color scheme in my opinion, but it looked a little bit clunky, and it was much more clunky inside the model. But what you see in the video is this really organic swing of these arms. The thing you don't see in that video is the mechanism that activates the function. And honestly, it's so much cooler, because as cool as it is to see the geometry of this arm like slash in a really nice way and get this fantastic range out of it, the function on it was that there was one input but two outputs, and which output was chosen depended on which direction you turn the gear. Essentially, if I turned the gear on the back, the knob on the back, this way, it swung this arm. If I turned the gear the opposite direction, it swung the opposite arm, and that was it. It was so fun, and I'm sad that I abandoned it, because I really should have explored it more. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Little bits, little I want to say visualizations into my mind, a peek into the through the curtains that is my foggy brain. My brain is soup, and it's constantly leaking out. Anyway, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It's the best possible way you can help this channel. I say that at the end of every video, so you know that we're getting so close to 3,000 subscribers. So thank you all so much for that. I can't express enough how that feels. But of course, if you want to take this conversation further, let me know in the comments below, what is the function that you're most proud of that you've created? Maybe that's a little hard to type out, but of course you can share pictures of your content, pictures of your functions, or pictures of just things you've been playing around with over on the Discord. Take the conversation further over there. That's linked in the description, and you can check out Instagram and Patreon if you want to help support this channel, and videos like this one. Those are all in the description. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.